You know what? I get it. Some of you are just tired. And it's not because you're lazy, not because you're weak, not because you lack discipline. And it has absolutely nothing to do with you being unqualified. You are tired because you have been trying to grow while carrying resistance that you were never meant to actually hold. That resistance can look like trying to build confidence while dealing with self doubt. It could even be trying to lead even when you feel underestimated. Or maybe it's just as simple as trying to heal while trying to function daily. Today, we're going to talk about a phrase that you will hear me say a lot throughout your time on my channel, and that is moving right along. I want to talk about what that really means and why I say it. I want to be clear. This is not an attempt to ignore your pain, nor does it mean you should pretend as if nothing happened. It is simply a quest to acknowledge the challenge, learn from it, protect your peace, and keep moving. That's it. That's what moving right along means. Hey Insiders, I'm Andrea, and welcome back in the room where we reset without judgment, a space where you already belong, and a space where we can deep dive into thoughts that reshape the way we think. But one thing we don't do in the room is stay stuck. That's right. We acknowledge our issues, we learn from them, and then we are moving right along. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, take a seat, take up space, and let's move. So today's conversation is actually groomed out of a piece of work that is very near and dear to me, and that is my dissertation. My dissertation serves as a body of research that looks at examining how people continue to build ventures and moving forward while navigating barriers, biases, lack of access, and even emotional pressure. And the truth is, that actually applies beyond entrepreneurship. It applies in real life. So let me tell you what that means. Many people misunderstand progress. They believe progress means never feeling hurt, never being delayed, never needing rest, never doubting yourself, and never being affected by difficult people. And the truth of the matter is, that's just not progress. Progress means movement with awareness. So in this research, I look at how people continue developing despite those barriers, discouragement, and even microaggressions. The challenge may be real, but staying trapped is an option. And moving right along means just that. Naming it honestly, learning from it strategically, adjusting your behavior wisely, and continuing forward powerfully. And that is emotional maturity. For one thing that people really don't look to accept is that boundaries are a part of progress. For one thing that we can all learn from high functioning people is you can't grow if you allow everything to have access to you. And many people believe that boundaries are a form of rejection. But no, that's actually not true. It's far from the truth, to be honest. Boundaries are like an architecture. They create conditions that are required for growth. So in my dissertation, there was this one thing that looked at how barriers drain your momentum, whether that's through disrespect, disagreement, exclusion, social inequalities, and even just all of those things that just reduce access to opportunity. So let's think about that in everyday life and what it may look like. People that constantly criticize, environments that minimize you, conversations that exhaust you, relationships that consume your confidence, and overcommitting because you hate disappointing others. So if you're trying to move forward, boundaries are not optional. They are strategic. So here are some practical moves that you can start making today to help you build those boundaries that are necessary. First thing I would say is respond slower. If everything requires your immediate attention, it means that people have not truly taken into consideration your time and given you the time to fully review things and give full opinion. You want to make sure that anything that is given to you, you aren't expected to respond immediately on the spot. So I would say, again, respond slower. And if it needs an immediate response, maybe the people probably could have did a little bit better job in making sure you had that information ahead of time so they respond appropriately. The next thing I would say is saying no without explaining or over explaining. Just understanding that no can absolutely be a complete sentence. And that's the end. No extra thought, no extra understanding as to why you're saying no. It's just no. And that is a form of your boundary that you can start today. Limiting access to draining people. We all know those people that when you talk to them, you immediately feel exhausted. Maybe we shouldn't talk to those people every day. Maybe we should limit that. And that will again help us create that boundary, a practical boundary that we can use daily. The next thing is one that is so important to me, and it's protecting your mornings. I do not answer calls before 9 a.m. My phone stays in a complete silent mode all the time. But before 9 a.m., it's probably going to require me to call you back because I'm going to take that time for me. And I just don't like giving the control how my day will start. And I do that by, again, protecting my mornings. And the next thing I would say is also important is stop volunteering for emotional labor. We all know what that is. The labor that is just continuously an emotional downpour on your life, and you have trouble stepping away from those things and not allowing them to take an emotional toll on your life. Wherever that may be for you, you will feel that if you're actually aware and paying attention to those things. I would say that would be the next and final practical boundary that you can start today. At the end of the day, it's important to know that peace needs protection, and it's up to us to ensure that our peace is protected. And I won't say that that will always be the appropriate way. Sometimes there will be things that undermine your intelligence, those things that shock your confidence. We need to learn to rebuild or redefine confidence after being undermined. So when you think about rebuilding confidence, I think we need to first understand confidence. Confidence is not built by compliments. Confidence is built by evidence. So in my research, it discussed how negative experiences can impact individual factors necessary for growth. And that's things like access, support, internal belief. Putting that in simple language, it means that when people repeatedly experience dismissal, bias, or disagreement, their confidence can be weakened. And that does not mean you are broken. It means that your environment has had an impact on you. So how do you rebuild confidence? Here's a quick framework to help put things into perspective. The first thing I would say is important is keep promises to yourself. Small promises count too. Whether that's saying you're going to wake up early, saying you're going to finish one task today, or follow through consistently. Self-trust creates confidence. The next thing is collect evidence of competence. That means write down everything. Wins, problems you solved, skills you've built, hard lessons that you've learned. Memory often forgets success when you need to hear that reminder the most. So having those things wrote down serve as a reminder that you've successfully done those tasks. That reminder is so important in those moments. The third part of the framework is speak before you feel ready. Competence often grows after you take an action. Stop borrowing your identity from critics. Some people judge you from their limitations. That is not a mirror of who you are. You have your own identity. Do not accept that. So those are the steps of the framework. If that's something that you plan as a next step, comment down below rebuild. I want to see who else taking this step with me today. But I don't think that's the end of the road. Building confidence is great, but how do you keep going? How do you keep the momentum rolling? Many people believe that emotional intelligence means being nice. Again, not true. Emotional intelligence actually means recognizing your emotions, regulating your emotions, reading your environment, responding wisely, and staying aligned under pressure. My research looked at how individuals continue progressing under difficult conditions using strategic behaviors. And that will require some level of emotional intelligence because sometimes the challenge is not the task, It's the reaction. When you're thinking about some emotional intelligence responses, here are some that help us understand this, not that. So instead of why is this happening to me, try something like what is this situation teaching me? Instead of I'm offended, why not say what response best serves my future? The last one I would say is in terms of I'm stuck. Let's try to use terms like what is one action that I can actually take today? And that shift changes lives. So we're building confidence, we're keeping the momentum. One thing that I don't want us to do is to build this idea that suffering is actually a strength. We don't wear suffering as a strength. My research also references this very popular term in academia, which talks about the superwoman schema. And that is the expectation to be endlessly strong, capable, self sacrificing, and resilient. Many people live this way. They become the dependable one or the strong one, the one who carries everything. But let's be honest, strength without recovery becomes damage. Strength without boundaries becomes resentment. And strength without softness becomes emotional distance. So hear me clear. You do not have to collapse to earn rest. You do not have to suffer to prove strength. And you do not have to carry everything to deserve respect. Sometimes moving right along can mean putting something down. So let's talk about what our new system will look like. From now on, when challenged, we pause. Nothing needs an immediate response from us. We're going to slow down and think. When disrespected, we're going to take a moment to assess what's really happening, not make irrational decisions. When we are delayed, we're going to take time to adapt to the new norm and reassess how we get back to where we need to go. When we are tired, guess what? We're going to recover. When we hurt, we're going to actually take the time to heal. And when we're ready, we will move. That is power. No chaos, no panic, no proving yourself to anyone. Movement with wisdom. I get it. Some of you thought that strength meant staying in pain longer than necessary. And we are debunking that thought today. Strength is learning faster. Strength is protecting our peace. Strength is rebuilding our confidence. Strength is emotional intelligence, even under pressure. And strength is knowing what happened does matter, but it does not get to own the next chapter. If this message helps you today, feel free, subscribe, and remember, there should never be a question of whether or not you belong in this room. Keep showing up, keep taking up space, and I'll see you in the next conversation. Let's move.